Hi, Brent. Thanks for coming in today. I'm glad that you're here. What I'd like to start out with is kind of setting agenda for how our sessions will go from here on out. Last week we did your evaluation, but this week and all the subsequent sessions will be a little bit different than your evaluation. So what I like to do at the beginning of the session is set up an agenda of items that we want to talk about. So I have a few items that I want to go over with you today. And then we'll work together to identify some items that you would like to add to the agenda today. Is there anything right offhand that you can think of that you would like to discuss today in our session?
Uh, yeah, I have a problem just getting out of bed in the morning. I just don't want to get up. It's hard. Most days I don't even get out of bed unless I need to go to the bathroom, and then I'll just go back to bed. Um, I don't have any motivation to
Okay.
do anything to start the day.
All right.
And my family wants me to address not leaving my house.
Okay. All right. I've put all of those things down for agenda items for us to discuss. What we will do as we proceed today, we will prioritize the agenda items and discuss which items you would like to specifically talk about today. And then we'll go from there. You'll see me writing a lot today because I'm going to be taking some notes, but I'm going to be writing some things down for us to share and so that you can be reminded of what we discussed in this session and what our agreements were in this session. Do you have any questions so far?
No.
Okay. All right. So I've looked at the inventories that you completed prior to our session, and it looks like that your depression and your anxiety has remained pretty high and pretty consistent throughout the last week. But I'd like to know how you're feeling today.
Um, Depressed or anxious, sad, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Just real down. I mean, that seems about accurate what's on those sheets there.
Okay. So last week when you were here in your evaluation, we discussed the reason for you seeking out some treatment at this point was due to your wife's death, being hit tragically by a bus in front of you while you all were on vacation. So, has anything new happened over the last week that has caused your depression or anxiety to increase or decrease?
I guess I have trouble sleeping, and going to sleep at night. So I guess that the I'm afraid that when I go to sleep, I'll keep having nightmares
Mm-hmm.
of the Katie's incident of being hit by the bus.
Sure.
Um,
So it
yeah,
sounds like not being able to sleep is pretty important to you. We've talked about that a couple times already.
yeah.
So I'm going to make sure we keep that on our agenda and decide if that's something we need to discuss today or not. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So we talked about your assessment from last week and your evaluations. And I wanted to let you know that based upon the evaluation, you have been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, I want you to know that post-traumatic stress disorder is a very real thing, and that it's not something that at this point you have a lot of control in having because it's related to the trauma that you experienced with your wife. So my hope is that as we progress in your therapy, that your symptoms will decrease and you'll have less trouble with your daily functioning. Do you have any questions about your diagnosis, or
Is what you just said, have that the same thing as PTSD?
that is the same thing as
Okay.
PTSD? Yes.
I thought like only war veterans got that.
No, actually, many people can be diagnosed with PTSD after experiencing extremely traumatic events. All right, any more questions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so we listed a few things that you saw as problems for you right now. So one of those being the lack of motivation and not wanting to leave your house and trouble sleeping. And also, we talked about your trouble getting out of bed, which I think would relate to your motivation, but I think it's important to put on the list for the agenda items. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what would be the most important thing on this list for you to discuss today?
My family would say me not leaving my house because I really didn't even want to come here today. They had to drag me to meet with you today.
Okay. Well, I commend you for coming in. And what I hear you saying is that your family feels like it's a major problem that you're not leaving your house. But what do you see as the major problem for yourself?
I mean, I'd probably say it's a problem for. I'd say it's a problem that I don't leave my house too.
Okay.
If I really had to say it and point it out and think about it, because I mean, I got a job that I'm on leave for, but I mean, I can't be on leave forever.
Right. So, is that the top priority to discuss today? Is leaving your home? Would you like to work on that problem today?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I'm going to put a 1 beside that as the thing that we're going to discuss today. If we have more time today, is there another item that you would like to discuss today?
Probably the trouble sleeping.
Okay. Now, we have not put motivation, no motivation, or trouble getting out of bed on our list. Are these items that could wait till next week, or do you feel like they're important to discuss today?
I mean the trouble getting out of bed is probably semi-important.
Okay.
So I mean, the no motivation. I would think that it just would come whenever it comes.
Okay. So you're okay with us putting the motivation issue on the agenda for next week? We'll go ahead and start working towards an agenda for next week.
Okay.
But today you want to go ahead and discuss the trouble getting out of bed. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Okay. All right. I will put that down. So the type of therapy that I'll be working with you on is called cognitive behavioral therapy. And in cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the main tenets is that your thinking affects your mood. So that's what we're going to be focusing a lot on is your thoughts, maybe even thoughts that you aren't aware you're having, your automatic thoughts that are happening, you know, as a result of just everyday activities. And we're going to help to identify those thoughts and then kind of look at your reactions to those thoughts. And then we're going to talk about your automatic thoughts and if we're going to talk about if those are actually accurate thoughts or not and how to kind of change your thoughts.
Okay.
So we'll be talking a lot about when you notice that your mood is changing or when you're aware that you're feeling more anxious or more depressed. So each week we're going to do homework together. I'll give you some tasks that we agree on together to work on for homework. So one good place to start for homework is for you to start paying attention to your thoughts and moods throughout the week. So I'd like for you to kind of keep a list of times when you start feeling extremely depressed or anxious and kind of keep notes on what was going on at that time, what activities were you doing. Do you think that's something that you could do?
Yeah.
Would that be difficult for you to do?
No, that seems okay.
Okay, so I'm going to write that down on your homework list to identify the activities that you were doing when you're feeling maybe overwhelmingly depressed or anxious. Does that sound okay to you? And do you understand what that will you understand what that means when I come back to it? I don't want to write something that you won't.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the number one problem that you wanted to discuss today was not leaving your home.
Yeah.
Right? So it sounds like that not only you, but your family is noticing that this is becoming a major problem for you.
Yeah, they have real issues with it. There's more just real concerned.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about why you are not wanting to leave your home.
I'm just afraid of one. I'm just re-experiencing what happened to Katie to someone else or me or a family member or whatever.
Sure. So not only are you afraid that something will happen again, are you afraid that you will get hit by a bus?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't afraid of that before.
Right.
Until I saw it happen to my wife. She just stepped off the sidewalk and didn't look both ways, I guess. And I was in the store checking out and just happened to look out the window and it happened.
Okay. But what I also heard you say was that you were afraid of having to discuss it with people. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to write those two items down as topics to discuss. So afraid of getting hit by a bus, and then afraid of having to discuss what happened. Okay. So let's start by talking about you being afraid of getting hit by a bus.
Okay.
How many times have you been outside before and walked down the street?
Before Katie's accident or
Before
after?
Katie's accident.
Oh, we got all the time. We live in a nice neighborhood. Me and Katie would take walks all the time with the dog around the neighborhood and whatnot, almost every day.
Okay. And did anything happen? Did anyone get hurt when that happened?
No, no.
So is it possible that what happened to Katie is an isolated event, although very tragic and very terrible? It might not be something that would happen every day. Would you agree with that, or do you think differently than that?
I mean, in my head, kind of tells me, yeah, it was an isolated freak accident type event, but it still just freaks me out just
Of course.
thinking about it.
Okay. All right. So, what are some things that we can do to help you to maybe get more comfortable with being outside? Do you have any ideas, or would you like to hear some ideas from me?
Um, some ideas from you would be great.
Okay, because you're having a really hard time even thinking about being
Yeah.
outside. Okay. So, do you drink coffee in the mornings?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when I get out of bed, I do. But
Oh, yeah. Right. So, where do you typically drink your coffee?
used to when Katie was still alive, we would drink our coffee before we went to work on our front porch swing. But now it's I'll either go to the kitchen and make my coffee and go back to bed, or I'll drink it in the kitchen and then go back to bed.
All right. So, do you think that you could start off by starting to drink your coffee on the front porch again?
Yeah, I think as long as I feel motivated to get up in the mornings, I think I could. Yeah.
Okay. So, can I put that down for something for our homework? That you would maybe, how many times a week do you think you could commit to drinking your coffee on the front porch?
Um, maybe 3 times.
Okay. So maybe we'll put 3 times a week you drink your coffee on the front porch. Is that something you think you could do?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And what my hope is, Brent, is that once you see that it's not that you're safe being outside and on your front porch, that you'll be able to maybe drink your coffee every morning on your front porch.
Mm.
So just because we put 3 times a week on your homework doesn't mean that you can't do it more. But it would be really great if you could do it at least 3 times a week.
Okay.
All right? All right, great. So to summarize a little bit of what we've talked about today, we have discussed that you have been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and you understand that that's a real diagnosis, and that we're going to work hard to help you with that, with the problems that you're having. Some of the problems that you are having is you don't want to leave your home, you're having trouble sleeping, trouble getting out of bed, and you don't have any motivation. What you've told me is that your family is really worried about you, and they're concerned about you not getting out of your house. Have I gotten that correctly, or are there things that I've missed or things that you want to add to how
Hmm
you think the session has gone?
That sounds about right.
Okay, so we have discussed that for your homework for next week, you're going to identify activities that you're doing that are making you feel really depressed or anxious.
Mhm.
And then 3 times a week, you're going to drink your coffee on the front porch. Do all those sound like things that you could do easily and that won't cause you too much stress?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So now I'd like to hear feedback from you about our session and how you felt like things went today and how you're feeling toward the end of our session.
Um, I feel okay. I mean, I feel a little better just able to talk to someone about what happened. And I think that we can possibly get me in the right direction to hopefully start going outside at least. So yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that you feel like this has been a positive experience, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks again for coming in, Brent.
Thanks.